Do you find babies difficult to paint? Well, I do, and I'm going to tell and show you why. I am artist AJ Alper. I specialize in portraits with a direct painting technique called alla prima. For this tutorial, I've chosen a baby picture from the app Sketchy. For those not familiar with Sketchy and have an iPhone, go check it out. I chose this particular photo because I found this baby super cute, and there is quite a bit of detail in the photo. But, and there is a big but here, or maybe a little baby but, sorry. There are two factors that are going to make this a very difficult face to paint. The first is that her face is so round and smooth with bunched up little features. The second is that she is in an ambient lighting situation, which gives us much subtler values to work with. I will get to both of those later in the video. First, I want to describe a little bit about my working process. My process and my painting style are designed for my strengths and weaknesses. I've done a lot of experimenting with different types of painting over the years, and this is the one that I keep on coming back to. When it comes to painting, I am extremely impatient. Some would call it ADHD. There, I said it. I have ADHD. Mostly I have what they used to call ADD because I don't have the hyper part, just the attention part. If I ever try to do a detailed pencil sketch for a painting, I start to get extremely bored and anxious, and I want to jump right into the painting part. It would be great to have a nice detailed sketch to color in with paint between the lines, and then the painting would go very quickly. But I just cannot work that way. But there is hope. The type of painting used by John Singer Sargent, the god of alla prima painting, and all painting for that matter, does not require an underdrawing or underpainting. He may have had some preliminary drawings and sketches when he worked, but when he got to the painting, he would just go straight into the painting. And I thought, if he can do that, then so can I. There are no rules. It's just me in my studio. No one to tell me right or wrong or what I can and can't do. I even have black in my palette. So for you neo-impressionists out there, eat my ivory black. So now when I start a painting, I do a quick scribble with the paint and find the placement of all the landmarks in the painting, and then go right in full on painting. And this style of painting works very well with my natural process, which is to approximate very quickly what the whole painting is going to look like, and then make adjustments to that until I approach the finished painting. That's a much different idea than doing exact pencil drawing and then doing an underpainting and then painting color or glazing on top of that. Neither one is really right or wrong. It's just some is a better fit for some painters and the other is a better fit for other painters. So if you have some of the same issues that I do, that you get very impatient with the painting, then maybe this style painting, alla prima painting, is a better fit for you. So one of the main drawbacks of this style of painting is that you may get very far along in the painting and realize that some of the features aren't in the right place. So you have to go back and make adjustments. This is sometimes painful when you do a painting and you think, hey, this is the best eye I've ever painted, and now I've got to paint it out or move it or leave it where it is even though it's wrong. And I would watch dozens of time-lapse videos of digital painters, and when they got to something like that where a feature was in the wrong place, they would just nudge it over. It would just take a few key clicks and that feature would be moved to the right place. And I found that a little bit infuriating because I wanted to be able to do that. And so I think what I've ended up doing is probably something pretty close to that, is that if I have an eye in the wrong place or nose that's over too far, then I just repaint it. And I found that by doing this, at first it took me a while to repaint some of those features. But as I did it more and more, I found that I could repaint an eye in a minute or two. And I can move a mouth over subtly by painting out one edge and painting in the other painting a line between the lips higher or lower pretty quickly. One benefit of that is I've gotten really good at repainting those features. And at least now I can repaint an eye and I'm not afraid to do it. So back to our baby painting at hand. So I said that one challenge to our baby painting is the roundness and smoothness of the forms, and this particular baby is very round and smooth. If all I'm doing is copying colors and values that I see in the photograph to the painting, I'm going to run into problems because I'm not really going to be considering the underlying structure of the baby's face, and those forms aren't going to be turning in space. So what I end up is just a mess of patchy colors all over the place. So after I get most of those colors and values in, then I have to make all those subtle adjustments that help turn those forms in space, and make also adjustments to the placement of the features and the anatomy so that the painting then does look right. You might notice during the time lapse that I make some of these adjustments dozens or almost hundreds of times, and this is what it takes to paint in this method. And the better you get, the more willing you are to continually making adjustments until things look right. And then you get better at putting them closer to where they need to be in the first place. The overall effect, however, is that you look like a genius because it looks like you've just painted the whole thing in just a few strokes. The other challenge that I mentioned was the lighting. Most portrait painters will set up their model with a strong key light at something like a 45-degree angle. This creates a strong sculptural value structure to the face. Then with the addition of a fill lighting into the shadow side, giving reflected light into those shadows, gives an even stronger sculptural sense to the form. This is probably one of the easiest lighting setups to paint from, and why it's the favorite from many artists who paint from life in a studio. However, I don't always have this luxury because often I'm painting from photos that are provided by the subject or the subject's family, and there are all kinds of lighting, and usually the lighting can be quite poor or difficult to paint from. In this particular photo, she is obviously outdoors, and it's a ambient or cool lighting situation. All the values in the face are in a very narrow range. Value control becomes super critical because of the much smaller changes in value. This was a favorite lighting condition of the Impressionist and Post-Impressionist because of when you have two colors of close to equal value side by side, even if one or both are fairly muted, you start to get a vibration between the two colors. And this was kind of the playground of the Impressionist, really having a lot of play between complementary colors in a narrow value range. So you may have noticed during this time lapse that I've gone in and made dozens of changes in areas that I have already painted. And this is to make those subtle changes in the values to get that forms to turn in space. Her face has cool lighting from either side of the face, and something like a subtle shadow in the middle, making a reddish stripe down the middle of her face. This gives the opportunity to create some of those lovely color relationships between lighter blue tints against slightly darker red, orange, and yellow ones. And I've even thrown in some green accents for good measure. If I can get some of those color relationships in her face also to help describe the form, then I will have succeeded in my mission. In the background, I'm picking up some of the cues from the resource photo. The narrow depth of field is making the background quite soft. I am also painting it that way with some of the details in the eyes, nose, and mouth being very sharp. This helps draw the eye to the face and help creates depth in the painting. Well, I think this turned out pretty good. Give me a thumbs up, or I dare say leave a comment and let me know what you think. Please be kind. I also have feelings. If you are finding my tutorial helpful, please visit my channel and watch more of them, or better yet, subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications. When I post new ones, you'll be the first to know. Thanks for watching.